What's up guys, Ben here and welcome to Motivation to Invest. Chamath Palihapitiya is one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time. A former Facebook executive, he set up his own venture capitalist firm, Social Capital. He is like a modern day Warren Buffett and offers a real unique insight. He has a great sense of humor and he has a real way with words I think you'll enjoy tremendously.
But just to level set, let's start with a quick lightning round about who you are, what you've done. You grew up in Sri Lanka and Canada.
Yep.
Rich or poor?
Well, my parents were kind of ruling class in Sri Lanka. And then in the Civil War, we emigrated to Canada and I grew up on welfare.
Siblings?
2 younger sisters.
Favorite sport?
Basketball.
You moved to Silicon Valley in 1999. Why?
I had a job as a derivatives trader. I was an electrical engineering grad, but I had a job as a derivatives trader. I had a, kind of come to Jesus moment where I didn't really feel like I was being very productive. And the smartest kids in my class had gone there. I went to school in Canada, University of Waterloo. So I just followed them.
You joined AOL, or was there a step? There's something before AOL.
Yeah, there was a company called Winamp, which I was a part of, which was acquired by AOL. It made a media player. It was kind of, before iTunes was iTunes, there was this thing called Winamp, and it was 8 of us. And then I became part of AOL Music, and then I ran AOL Instant Messenger, and then I left and I joined Facebook. And
joined Facebook in 2007.
Yeah, it was one of the founding kind of senior 4 or 5
What were your
people.
first impressions meeting Zuckerberg?
I met him in 2005 when I was at AOL. This guy, Sean Parker, who was the president of Facebook at the time, brought him to my office in Washington, D.C., because he was in D.C. at the time visiting his parents, and he had brought Zuck with him. And kind of like very similar to the movie, he showed up in flip-flops and like a fleece vest in the middle of November, and I thought, he's either absolutely fucking crazy or, he's a genius and he knows something I don't know. It turned out to be the latter, so I went to work for him.
So you left Facebook to start your own VC firm, Social Capital, in 2011?
Yeah.
So in this video, I'm going to reveal Chamath Palihapitiya's top 10 rules for success, both in business and in life. Be sure to watch this video to the end for a very special bonus clip. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Yeah. Coming in, flex. I just want to win.
And I've been a big believer that the best thing that I can do to become great at my craft is work on my inherent bias.
Okay.
And try to be able to close my eyes and not require this person to mimic or look like who I am or what I'm used to, and instead ask the core questions that get down to, will this person be able to build customer love and NPS and product market fit? And what you find is that person comes in an incredibly diverse set of costumes. And so, being a really good investor is really about being able to take off the superficial labels that they bring to a meeting and seeing what's underneath. It's really hard. People who are comfortable taking something that works and saying it doesn't work here and let's just reset and start again. And it just takes a lot of courage. When that guy came to me in Japan and said, hey, I think we need to introduce a blood type, or our team in Korea came with a bunch of different ideas, or our team in India came up with this really clever way of engaging with Facebook over a phone. You have to be willing to take yourself out of your own biases and find people who are willing to come up with things that, again, are unconventional. Another reason why you can't live in the bubble that is the valley. And then for me, I just copied. A lot of my life, quite honestly, is just copying things that I see. There's not a lot of original thought here. It truly is not. We can all pretend we're all fucking geniuses. Honestly, be good copiers. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the best thing in the world. Be around high-functioning, high-quality people and just copy the shit that they do. Observe the shit that's, kind of crappy, and then don't do that stuff. It's not a fucking complicated formula.
When have you used that best?
No, all the time. Look, now, it's funny. Like it's like, like you have a surface area of ways to spend your time now, or I do. And, I'm in this midst now where we are really scaling up what we're doing as a business. And I meet these people that to me are so iconic that they were sort of like arm's length people that are now sitting face to face, and they treat me like a quasi-peer. I wouldn't say a peer, but quasi-peer. But what I see is, I see some amazing stuff, and I see some utter dysfunction in some of the richest, most important people in the world. And I have to decide, how am I going to act? What am I going to embody? What am I copying? What am I not copying? Near product market fit. And what that really means is, at least in consumer software, do you understand the psychology of what you're building to enough of a degree where you can isolate these key points where just an average person has this dopamine rush around a reaction to something you're doing? And then can you capture it, and then can you make it mechanistic? And that sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook, but literally what it meant at Facebook was, I would see how literally people would emotionally react to when they saw somebody from 10 or 15 years in their past, as an example. Yeah. And then we saw that wow, when women would post 7 photos, men would actually post 3 more photos. And it's like they have all these things. And so we just started to document, characterize, measure, analyze, and we built it into a massive system that allowed us to amplify what was naturally happening. So the takeaway when I left and I started Social Capital was, wow, we can probably do that. And the question was, could we do it for any kind of company? Could we do it for an enterprise company, a healthcare company, a rocket company? And it turns out you can, because they're all struggling with the same thing. It's how do you get a group of people to understand the context of what you're doing? How do you make it analytical enough so that it's measurable, so that you can scrub out all the anecdote and the lore? Because everybody loves the bullshit at the water cooler who has their version of history. But we all know they're a bullshitter, but when nobody else says anything, we take it as fact. And so you have to basically invalidate that guy. And then you can actually start to have a systematic way of understanding how to make a company successful. So if you think about building businesses today that could do any of those 3 things, you have to be technological. You absolutely just have to be. You are not going to build a brick and mortar business that gets anywhere close to those 3 things, number 1. Number 2 is you have to think very broadly about building things that can stand the test of time. Those businesses are by definition hard and non-obvious. And so they compound in scale very slowly. And that's really counterintuitive to the overriding logic of Silicon Valley, which says quick, fast, go, right? But that kind of premature ejaculation doesn't work if you're trying to fucking be around forever. You gotta be in the flow for decades. That is hard. It tests people's patience. It tests people's resolve. It tests people's really intellectual incision. And this is where everybody gives up. Everybody gives up. I had this moment today, just a total different way of describing this. Through the Warriors, I've met a lot of players, obviously. One of them who I've become unbelievably close to is David Lee. David Lee just got engaged to this unbelievable woman, Caroline Wozniacki, tennis player. Anyways, we were working out this morning, okay? Couples workout. Me and my wife, him and his fiance. So we're doing this thing, this treadmill thing, which my trainer concocted. And I'm in pretty good shape. And then you see what it really means to be extremely dedicated, in their case, to something which is physical fitness, because they're professional athletes. When I give up, right, when the average human gives up, their brain goes into fucking overdrive. Okay? And they're like, there's this next level burst. And so it's that. Yeah. It's like when things get hard, can you double down? A different example, we had yesterday, we do these things every quarter called quarterly portfolio reviews, where incredibly intensive review of our entire portfolio, revisiting our strategy, talking about all the things we're doing to make sure we're on the right track. And I had this observation, which was, I started a diabetes business. My dad died of diabetes 3 years ago. Most of my relatives have it. I express the gene that makes me disproportionately susceptible to it. So it's something that I personally care about. But that business took 7 years to get to a place where we even have a chance of being viable. And I think to myself, in that example, I embodied a bit of Caroline Wozniacki. When things got hard, I pushed through the pain. Now, in my case, the pain was the fear of failure, continuing to write more money, a belief that I had that this business was going to work. And today, that business manages 1 million diabetics. And I think there is some kid out there whose family will be slightly less dysfunctional because their parents' disease is better managed. It's not going to go to a place where, like, they're getting dialyzed or, they're on an organ registry. And that value for that kid in our world and all of you that benefits will never be connected the dots, but that's okay. But it required just resilience. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
And so I want to bring back a little bit of that here so that it's not quick, fast, 5 million users, 10 million now, flip it, sell it, great, celebrate. It's like, hey, let's work on some hard shit together. Let's like buckle down and look each other in the eye and say, we're going to support each other here. This is going to take 7 or 8 years. But if it works, it will really mean something. And it's something that matters to you for something that's other than just simple motivation of the social capital you get from your friends or money in the short term and winning bigger, longer term. We're missing that, and I think like part of our success. All right, so let's talk about growth. Everyone asks me, because this is like the topic du jour, it's what everyone wants to know. It's like, what was the secret? It's like almost as if like, we're the NSA and we've like developed something and like nobody knows, or like, some secret backroom negotiation between us and governments. And it's like none of that shit. We did 3 really obvious brain dead things, and the reality was we lacked enough self-awareness and ego to frankly just continue to do these very simple things over and over and over again, repetitively, monotonously, to a point where every time we used to see things move in one direction or another, we would either keep doing them or stop doing them and not second-guess ourselves. And so I kind of tell people, look, we actually just looked at a lot of data, we measured a lot of stuff, we tested a lot of stuff, and we tried a lot of stuff. Now, that masks over a lot of more nuanced understanding, but at an extremely high level, that's really what we did. And what's shocking to me is when I see like a lot of products out there, it's unbelievable to me that people are trying to shroud products in this veneer of complexity that makes themselves seem like so good and so smart, and I'm this fucking hipster and I'm riding the Muni in San Francisco, and look at my oolong green tea that I bought organically, and look at these ripped tight skinny jeans that I bought. And it's like, you got to get over yourself. Like, measure some shit, try some shit, test some more shit, throw the stuff that doesn't work. It's not that complicated. And I see app after app after app, and I get inundated. And when I download it and I try it, I'm like, did you even spend 8 seconds using your own product? It's unbelievable the lack of dogfooding that happens. And so most people, when they think about growth, they think it's this convoluted thing where you're trying to generate these, extra normal behaviors in people. And that's not what it's about. What it's about is a very simple, elegant understanding of product value and consumer behavior. And when you shroud yourself in all the bullshit veneer, and this is the single biggest problem in the Valley today, you will miss the mark. And the problem is we're in this massive long tail where you've had these seminal, huge successes occur, and now you have all these people who have 2 choices, and they're extremely difficult choices. Choice number 1 is you do what you think is right, independent of what the external feedback loop tells you. And choice number 2 is you do what you read about and what you get, credit for and what people tell you is interesting. And that second class of things destroys products. And it destroys people's ability to build something interesting. And it doesn't matter how good you are at your job, if that specific set of values isn't imbued in what you're building, you will fail. And it doesn't matter. And right now, that is the one most important thing that if you're going to leave away with this is just don't believe the hype and the bullshit that we're in right now. But by the way, that's another thing. Changing your mind is so powerful. I mean, fuck, change your mind. It makes for really, really, really bursty, difficult marriages at times. My wife will tell you. But man, is it powerful in business. Change your mind all the time. And it's amazing, again, where you'll find like really good scaled leaders want the right answer, and they're fine with capitulation, they're fine with change. They really are, because they just want the right answer. And then you just get so invested in an answer. And then you build up all of this superficial logic to reinforce it versus saying, I don't know, oh, you know what, I changed my mind. Wow, another powerful thing, I think. I change my mind all the time. What I want to hear about is the 3 most difficult and hard problems that any consumer product has to deal with. How do you get people in the front door? How do you get them to an aha moment as quickly as possible? And then how do you deliver core product value as often as possible? And after all of that is said and done, only then can you propose to me how you are going to get people to get more people. And that single decision about not even allowing the conversation to revolve around this last thing, in my opinion, was the most important thing that we did. And when I look again in the landscape, things that scale understand that principle, whether it's explicitly or intuitively. And things that don't, and also things that have this amazingly steep rise and then fall off a cliff, and there are really visible examples of that today, also ignore that principle. And it's the discipline to not optimize for the thing that gives you the shortest and most immediate ROI. Because that is never the sustainable thing that allows you to build something useful. By the way, a lot of things, like, it's really powerful to be able to say, I don't know. I mean, I would just encourage you guys all to just be like, I don't know. Like this culture, like American culture, it's this weird thing of like know-it-alls. Everybody has to know everything. How the fuck can you ever learn? When is that going to be valuable? Don't be just own that one line, I don't know, is so powerful. And as I kind of like get more abstracted, when I meet people and I ask them things, it is so endearing to hear I don't know. Because behind that is just a self-awareness and confidence that I think is increasingly rare. Now, you guys are like, oh, I'm going to fucking grin fuck this guy and just keep telling everybody I don't know. Don't do that. I mean, really own it. If you're going to say it, really own it. But I really think it's a very powerful thing to be able to say, I don't know. So when you boil that all up, the most important 2 high-level takeaways that we had, and after all of this stuff, was we got to eliminate ego. And ego manifests itself every day. So I talked about it earlier. It's the ego of basically living a lifestyle and a vision and like a Twitter stream than it is actually like living the life of an entrepreneur, building good product and trying to deliver core product value. That takes ego, meaning you have to be comfortable not being rewarded in the short term. And then the second is to invalidate all the lore. In any given product, there's always people who strut around the office like, you know, I have this gut feeling. It's all about gut feeling. And most people with gut feeling are fucking morons. They don't know what they're talking about. They just don't. If we lived on gut feeling, you can look at what happens when you live on gut feeling. Look at the financial markets. Look at how government works. Look at how all of these industries that are completely broken. Gut feel is not useful because most people can't predict correctly. We know this. So one of the most important things that we did was just invalidate all of the lore. As much as we didn't do stuff, all we did was disprove all of the random anecdotal nonsense that filtered around the company. Well, I think it's this, that, you know, people are using it because of that, and I want to do this. And it's like, where did you pull that out of? And you know where they pulled it out of. And they just, again, wanted to do it to go back and, you know, reinforce a sense of ego. And a lot of people don't have a culture within a company that allows these 2 things to happen. And if you can't be extremely clinical and extremely unemotionally detached from the thing that you're building, you will make these massive mistakes and things won't grow because you don't understand what's happening. It takes a really special type of person to not believe the bullshit, and an even more special person to not conflate luck and skill. You have to be, if you're in this type of job, in my opinion, relatively cynical and You can be confident. Fuck, you can be arrogant. Doesn't really matter. But you can't believe your own BS. Because when you do, you start to compound these massively structural mistakes that, again, don't expose core product value and then don't allow real engagement and real product value to emerge. You don't listen to consumers because you think it's all about your gut. You don't bother doing any of the traditional, straightforward, obvious things that would allow you to answer very straightforward, obvious questions. And you lose yourself. Most people, unfortunately, just don't know what they're talking about. There's about 150 people that run the world. Anybody who wants to go into politics, they're all fucking puppets, okay? There are 150, and they're all men, that run the world, period, full stop. They control most of the important assets. They control the money flows. And these are not the tech entrepreneurs. Now, they are going to get rolled over the next 5 to 10 years by the people that are really underneath pulling the strings. And when you get behind the curtain and see how that world works, what you realize is it is unfairly set up for them and their progeny. Now, I'm not going to say that that's something that we can rip apart, but first order of business is I want to break through and be at that table. That's the first order of business. And the way that I do that is by proving that I can do what they do as well as they do it. And then do it better than how they do it. Because at the end of the day, they are commercial fucking animals. Okay? And they'll open the door out of curiosity and they'll let me stay because I add value. And then once I'm there, I can open the door for other people who can try to do the same thing. So my entire goal now is to be in a position to aggregate enough of the capital of the world to then reallocate it against my worldview. And I'm not saying my worldview is the best or right, but it is mine. And at the end of the day, there are 150 other fucking guys with their worldview, and they don't give a shit what you think about their fucking worldview. That's the truth. And so why not me? Why not? Why not one of you? Why not? And so in my life now, I'm just kind of like, why not? Why the fuck not? Fuck it. Absence of capital, you're irrelevant. With capital, you're powerful. And then you decide. In small ways, in medium-sized ways, in large ways, right? It just depends on the scale of capital that you have. And go back to that first slide. Detached, egoless, focused on what's important, not living the hype, not trying to follow some lifestyle, but doing what you think is important, focusing on core value, ruthlessly prioritizing, and getting people who believe in these things. These are the values that we originally wrote in terms of how we recruit. Again, may seem like a crazy thing, but for all the CEOs here, all of you people should be writing this down. This is how you should recruit. It worked for us. I give this to every single company I invest in. It works for most of them. And these are things that, in my mind, are so obvious, blindingly, glaringly obvious. And people make mistakes around these things all the time. A very high IQ, self-explanatory. A strong sense of purpose are people that will not buckle under short-term pressure. A relentless focus on success, just so competitive that you will do whatever it takes to win. Aggressive and competitive people who always respect the person but constantly challenge the idea. A high-quality bar that borders on perfectionism, just nothing is ever good. You win, something improves by 10 basis points, now it needs to improve by 20 basis points, now it needs to improve by 1%. That kind of living in that world is just a really great dynamic.
Which of Chamath's words of success resonated the most with you? Comment your thoughts below and I'll join in the discussion. In addition, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. That allows us to continue creating more great content like this for you guys. In addition, if you would like more investing tips and exclusive stock market picks, which I personally have invested into, then you should definitely subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.
Coming in, flex, I just wanna win, LA BB, who we running with? Yeah. Coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win.